Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Happy Friday, everyone. Greetings to everybody who was on our first community Zoom this morning. We had a nice little half-hour chat this morning with everybody who is in our $25 and up tier. That was fun. Those of you who missed it for whatever reasons, pedicures, somebody finally went and got a pedicure. You can catch it on recording. We'll be sharing that shortly for those of you in those tiers as well. Wow, what another 24 hours, right? So I spent the morning again hanging out at the Black Women's Roundtable. I got to hear from I'm blown away like every time that I'm there. I think you all know this. This morning, Latasha Brown had a seat at one of the power tables talking about what happened in Georgia yesterday, along with a whole slew of organizers from the Black Churches Association and AAPI Vote, and just a slew of organizers who have been on the ground in Georgia and elsewhere. And it was inspiring, gut-wrenching, really powerful. And also, there is an enormous amount of energy right now around overcoming what happened yesterday. So almost all of our questions today were about Georgia. So let me just kind of explain what's going on there for those of you who maybe were not following along with what was happening yesterday. So yesterday, the Georgia State Legislature passed through in record time an incredibly restrictive voting bill. And that bill, for instance, makes it illegal to hand water or food to people who are waiting in line to vote. It gravely restricts mail-in voting, which has impacts for disabled folks and others. It restricts things like polling hours and all sorts of things that are designed quite obviously to combat the incredible efforts of Black voters in Georgia that won us the Senate and that flipped Georgia blue. So, Latasha and Black Voters Matter and others have been very engaged in the last few weeks in this campaign against corporations that are headquartered in Atlanta, like Coke and Delta. They've seen some support from some Georgia corporations, not from those two. She was really adamant this morning about the fact that we keep fighting, and that if they think they've beaten down any of those folks or their allies, they got another thing coming. They are organized. They are ready. They are talking about rolling out additional voter registration for still more disaffected voters, which, by the way, is what won us the Senate in January. We are going to see an unprecedented degree of organizing, both in Georgia and around the country. Because the other thing I will just say is that it's really clear from the discussions that we had this morning and a lot of what we saw last night, including Beto O'Rourke's interview on Lawrence, that Georgia is just the start. It is right now a test ground for what's going to happen elsewhere in the country. Beto drove 8.5 hours from El Paso to Austin yesterday to testify, only to find when he arrived there at the state capitol that they had canceled the hearing they were supposed to have on the voting rights restriction bill. So he had a lot to say about it last night and about the ways in which efforts are being made to really roll back voting rights in any state that has the potential of flipping blue. And there's a lot of work to be done there. So, one of the things I said on our community call this morning that I'm going to repeat here is that we're really going to have to be all in together on this heading into 2022 and beyond. You need to be aware of what is happening in your local jurisdiction. And I mean that from the standpoint of not just, what we've talked about here over the last couple of weeks, the rights of trans kids and what's happening in your local state legislature from the perspective of things like choice and other primary issues that we really care about, but also about voting restrictions. Because there are very strong signals right now that the Republicans know that this is the only way they're going to be able to win going forward. And there is no question that these bills are racist. They are designed to keep marginalized communities from having access to the ballot box, and they're going to try to pass them everywhere that they can. So we've got an enormous amount of work to do. And Nonetheless, I did leave Black Black Women's Roundtable this morning very inspired, and really feeling like the work that is being done, as usual, being led by incredible Black women organizers, is powerful, is unrepentant, and is going to continue and increase. So we've got, I know there's an enormous amount of outrage, and there should be. The fact that we had a Black Georgia Congresswoman arrested for knocking on Brian Kemp's door while he was signing this bill, with like 7 other white men surrounding him and not in a public ceremony, is outrageous. And it smacks of the worst moments of the 1950s and 1960s voter repression efforts in the South. Reverend Warnock got on a plane and flew down from DC just to visit her in jail. Again, we've got, an extraordinary amount of work to do here, and see it for what it is. I just want to make it really clear. There was a lot of discussion this morning about this being, absolute white supremacy. Let's call it what it is. That it's an effort to make sure that Black folks are disenfranchised, and it will impact others as well. But that is really what the target is here, and it is another stage in American history at which Black women are fighting for the same things that they've been fighting for generations. And what we really need right now, and this is what a number of the AAPI contributors were talking about this morning, is, a cross-cultural movement, a multicultural, multiracial movement that preserves democracy and the right to vote. So we all have work to do in this regard. And, we've got to be co-conspirators for justice. And it is incredibly important that we rise to the challenge and not allow ourselves to be beaten down. Okay, so the news last night, late last night, was that right before he was on Rachel, Mark Elias and his contingency of incredible election lawyers, these are the folks, again, who won all of the cases against Donald Trump's reelection campaign, filed suit in Georgia challenging the law on behalf of Black Voters Matter, New Georgia Project, which is Stacey Abrams' first Georgia-based organization, not the second one, and Rise Free Org as well. Now, here's the thing. I want to make it really clear that I think they've got a chance. And, Mark is an incredible lawyer. I have been lucky enough to hear him speak in private settings a number of times over the last, 8 or 9 months. And his team doesn't mess around. So I am really glad, honestly, to see Latasha and Nsé Ufot, who's running the New Georgia Project, and all of their members matched up with Mark. I do not think there are at least some provisions of this law that I don't think will stand. One of the things that was pointed out this morning in this roundtable I was listening to while the sun wasn't even up here, at this power table I was listening to, was that, this is the kind of thing that would make it illegal. For instance, if somebody fainted while waiting in line to vote and, a medic tried to give them a glass of water or a bottle of water, that medic could be arrested. It's just, an incredibly regressive law. And so, I think that there is a chance that the lawsuit will succeed. It is seeking injunctive relief, meaning they're seeking to stay the law. We'll have to see what happens next on that front. But it's an incredible legal team with a very good cause for very good clients. And so, at least there's that. I predicted yesterday that it was going to be challenged in court, and we didn't get through the day before it had actually been filed. We've had some questions today about the issue of boycotts. There is a debate ongoing about this right now in the Black women activist community, and so I just want to make everybody aware of it. Latasha herself, and I've talked to her a couple of times in the last 24 hours, has been pretty adamant that all options should be on the table, including boycotts of Coca-Cola and Delta and the like. Other Black activists in this sphere have said, please don't boycott Georgia, because the people that you will be harming the most with something like that is minimum wage, frontline workers, because those are the people who are going to lose their jobs first. So, again, we've got to be thoughtful about this. I generally tend to follow Latasha's lead on everything. If she tells me to boycott Coca-Cola, I'm going to do it. Not that I consume most of their products anyway at this point, but I will follow suit on that front. But I do want people to be aware that boycotting the entire state of Georgia may not be the wisest option right now. And we need to really consider what targeted action looks like, in part because some of these big employers are Atlanta based and they are benefiting from exactly the voters whose rights are now being oppressed. So more to come on that front. Absolutely. Somebody asked a question about whether or not a national holiday would be of benefit here. I have been in favor of making Election Day a national holiday for years. I think we should trade Columbus Day for it, frankly, or obviously replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day everywhere. But we need a national holiday for voting so that people don't have to skip work or end up going after work when they're going to wait in lines that may last until midnight. We have a lot of reform that is necessary here. Now, I want to add one other thing here, because this is where I really sat with all of this last night. We talked yesterday on the broadcast, for those of you who missed it, about the nuclear option on the filibuster, which is what people mean when they say, let's nuke the filibuster. That's what that refers to. There is a method by which you can overturn the filibuster using a very slightly bizarre procedural mechanism. This is how Mitch McConnell got the filibuster killed, so that he could appoint Trump's judges. It is something that we could arguably use. I am of the opinion at this point that the filibuster must die. I've reached the point of kind of getting to any means necessary. The Voting Rights Acts that are currently up for a vote, HR 1 and HR 4, need to get onto the Senate floor, and they need to get passed. And they may be, and this is not an overstatement, two of the most important bills that our democracy has ever seen. And we need to get them through. Now, the good news is Manchin has been indicating again, willingness to get voting rights legislation through the Senate. He has been a stopgap on the filibuster, as we all know. There was kind of a curious announcement this morning out of the Biden administration, which is that Joe Biden has nominated Manchin's wife to a sort of I don't know what you would call it. It's an appointed position, but it's also a position that doesn't really require a lot of I don't know. It's not something that's going to require her to be a Senate confirmed appointee. Okay. But he's thrown a bone to Joe Manchin. And I will tell you all that, I said last week, at least, and probably this week, I think I said it in an earlier broadcast, that there would be opportunities for folks in charge, including people like Chuck Schumer and the president, to toss a bone to Joe Manchin. And, I'm just going to say this, I'm not bothered by it. His wife is very clear. I read the announcement. His wife is very clearly qualified for the position for which he's been named. If this is something that gets Manchin off the dais on the point of the filibuster, so what, right? I mean, there's no allegation that it's ethically improper. There's no allegation that she's not ready for the position. It's not like nominating Ivanka Trump or Jared Kushner, who have no experience in the arena to which they've been nominated. It's the Appalachian Regional Commission. So it is something that is, directly based in West Virginia. And she's got experience in that arena. So, tossing the bone is not necessarily a bad thing in this regard. So we'll have to see if any impact comes from that. But, I just want to add, it is very clear that honey, I'm broadcasting. No, you can't get no kisses. It's very clear that you can't, deny that there are efforts being made here to placate Joe Manchin. And I'm no fan of Joe Manchin. I don't want anybody to think that. I think what he's done here has been horrifying. But all that said, I'm willing to let those bones be tossed if what it means is that we're able to get the agenda through. Okay. So, there's a lot of work that has yet to be done on this. And, the other thing I will just say here is there's a lot of people volunteering to get arrested in 2022 in Georgia, if that's what it takes. I just want you all to know, though, that the voices of the women who have pulled this off for Ossoff and Warnock and who flipped Georgia blue are very much this morning saying, fuck around and find out. That's really, I mean, none of them said that explicitly, but that's very much the attitude. It's like, you want to try us? Let's see what happens next, because you're not going to like it. They are committed, and it is hardcore, and they are going to win, and they have a way to get, they've got a plan to get Brian Kemp out of office. They're like on it. So again, I'll be sharing everything that I learn in that regard as I come here on a regular basis. But they're going to work harder than they've ever worked before in light of this. And I honestly don't think the Republican Party understands what they've woken up by trying this kind of stuff. I don't think they have any idea. I don't think they have any idea what nationwide this is going to do in terms of organizing, because where we were in 2016, we are way beyond that. Where we were in 2020, we are already building upon. And if we truly have a multiracial, multicultural movement across every identity and across every spectrum, with every issue group working together, they're not going to fucking know what hit them. So let them try, and we'll hit them on every level. So we'll see what happens next. I will absolutely get you involved as possibility, as much as possible, rather, and as soon as I can. Okay. Let's see. We had a question about student loans and student loan forgiveness and what the next efforts could be on that front. I just want you all to know that there is still a very overt, ongoing push being made to the Biden administration to forgive student loans by executive order. I'm going to remind you all again that we are waiting for an opinion from the office of the general counsel of the DOJ on that. The Biden administration has said explicitly that they are asking for legal opinions on that from the DOJ. Again, reminder: Merrick Garland has only been the attorney general since a week ago Monday. Let's not forget that there's a lot of other issues that are pulling his attention. DHS announced yesterday that they are doing a wholesale reinvestment of resources to investigating domestic white terrorism in this country. Thank the Lord. But there's a lot more from the DOJ standpoint that needs to be done at this point. And we will see what happens next on that front. I will say that I think student loans are very much still on the table. People like Elizabeth Warren, Ayanna Pressley, Julian Castro are all pushing in that direction. Chuck Schumer is pushing in that direction. So we may see more on that front in the coming weeks. It is not a dead issue. I don't want anybody to think it's a dead issue. There's a lot of advocacy still happening on that front as well. Okay. Nominations are continuing. Votes are continuing on nominations. We're going to see movement on a lot. We saw like 2 or 3 new confirmations yesterday. I just want to let everybody know as well that there are competing contingencies of lawmakers at the border today. Right when I was coming on the air, Ilhan Omar was speaking about her experience as a refugee, a child escaping violence in Somalia. Very moving, very powerful. And then we had Ted Cruz hiding in the bushes last night, claiming that he had been heckled by a cartel. I'm going to remind everybody that there is no crisis at the border. Can we just say that? There's a lot of immigration happening right now. That does not mean it's a crisis. It does not mean we are being overwhelmed. It does not mean the system is failing. It means that the system that was dismantled by Trump needs a lot of repair. Biden has a plan for it. The congressional delegation on the Democrat side is down there making sure that the conditions are humane. Every effort is being made to make sure that kids are being reunited with their families. Again, Biden has said that anybody who comes to pick up a kid is not going to be reported to ICE or detained. So let's just keep making sure that we are mindful of the talking points here and not buying into the propaganda. I was really disappointed, by the way, to see Andrea Mitchell, not that I'm a big fan of hers all the time, but open her broadcast today on MSNBC with crisis at the border. I want to remind everybody that the numbers now are lower than they were in April 2020 under Trump. So let's just be rational about this and also understand that there is an enormous amount of work to do after what Miller and Trump did to just eviscerate CBP and allow them to become a rogue agency. So more on that in the coming days. Okay. A few administrative things here. I am off next week. I want to remind you all I will not be here because it is my kids' spring break. We are staycationing, but we have some plans. And I've also got to do the last round of typeset edits on the book. So I will not be here at all next week. The Ask Me Anything thread for April will go up next week. There is a video that will drop for the very limited universe of you, all of you who are in the $100 and up tier. I think there's like, 10 of you or something like that at this point, who will get a little bit of a preview of the book in that tier. I named, by the way, in the question thread today, all of our co-producers in the $50 and up tier for the month of March. Thank you all very much. Very grateful for all of you. A couple of other things that I just want to let you all know. There are going to be some critical announcements about the book coming up in the next few weeks. I'm really stoked about that. And I will make those public when I have permission to do that. And lastly, I have a quick announcement about the Substack. I kind of flagged this earlier, but we are going to be sort of formalizing the Substack a little bit and also kind of shifting up the format. So it's now going to be one weekly essay for me. It's probably going to drop Sunday night, Monday morning. That's the plan. And then on every Thursday on the Substack, we will be having an open Q&A for about an hour with me for paid subscribers only. So the essays are going to be free, the Q&A with me for paid subscribers only. And then there will also be periodic audio content. That's going to be like super fun. With guests for paid subscribers also over on the Substack. So if you are not subscribed to the Substack yet, we would love to have you over there. Again, this is a model, by the way, that's very similar. Those of you who follow Heather Cox Richardson are very familiar with this format. This is what she does. Just want to encourage everybody to get on over there because the feedback, particularly to my essay that I wrote last week about single motherhood in the pandemic, has been enormous. I had a call earlier this week with some of the folks at Substack, and we had like 20,000 reads on that essay, which is amazing. So that's happening also, and that's a way to get like a little bit more access to me if you would care to have it. So all of that is going to be announced formally over the weekend, but I wanted to give you guys all a flag. For those asking about the time slot of this broadcast, for the foreseeable future, it is not going to change. Right now, it is working really well for us. I have made a family decision. I'm going to be fully vaccinated by next Friday. Well, I mean, I have 2 weeks after that to wait, but I'm getting my second shot next Friday. We will be, I'm going to send my kids to summer camp locally, not overnight camp, but day camp in the summer, because our numbers here are really low right now, which is awesome. So I will be revisiting it in June. But between now and June, we are not changing the time slot. We'll have to see how things are going once the school year is over and the kids are in camp. But that's where we are right now on all of that. Okay. So, so that's the latest. And, I just really want to give mass gratitude to all of you as always. This is my chance to thank all of you for your support, as I always do at the end of the month. And I will, of course, be tweeting periodically next week as well, although not quite so much as I normally do. So you can always check me out on Twitter. And yeah, mass gratitude to all of you who are getting your shots. I always love logging into the question feeds these days because there's always somebody getting their first or their second shot. It's awesome. And of course, if I get any heads up on additional shots, I will let everybody know. Please remember, by the way, if you are California based, that starting April 1st, if you are older than 50, you can get a shot. And starting April 15th, if you are 16 and up, you can get vaccinated here. And there are lots of other states that are opening up right now. So it's great. The news last night from Fauci, I think, was that 70% of our 65 and ups are vaccinated now, which is at least with one shot, which is amazing. And hospitalizations are plummeting. So we're kind of hopefully on the way to the end of the tunnel. Reminder, please keep masking up and until they tell us we can't, and be mindful of what you're doing in public and don't socialize with big groups and all that other sort of good stuff. But much love to all of you. Thank you all so much, as always, for your subscriptions and your support and all that other kind of good stuff. And I will see you all in a week. Okay. Much love, everybody. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.